Hello, hello, my wonderful friends. So I filmed this video ahead of time, the one that you're about to see, and I realized that on social media, I had mentioned once I hit 20,000 subscribers on YouTube that I would be doing a giveaway, and I hit the 20,000 subscribers a lot faster than I thought I was going to, which is so wonderful. Thank you guys so much. You are seriously incredible. You have no idea. So that's why I'm inserting this clip into this week's video, because I had pre-filmed it and didn't know I was going to hit 20,000 subscribers. So that is why I'm starting the video off like this. But please enter the raffle copter giveaway in the description box below if you would like to be entered to win one of the following prizes. I'm going to choose 5 winners, a signed copy of any one of my books, as well as a promotional bookmark. So that's the Alpha Drive, the Order of Omega, Restitution, or my newest book, Shadow Crown. A 30-minute Skype consultation with yours truly, where we can talk about really anything you want. If you want to talk about self-publishing or time management, self-care, self-love, work-life balance, formatting your manuscript, whatever it may be, I am open to any of those topics. Or you can choose a first chapter critique, where you will send me the first chapter of your manuscript and I will read through it and give you my notes and just things that maybe I would fix or change, adjust, and give my insights as to how to improve your first chapter. And just to let you know, none of these prizes expire. So let's say you choose the first chapter critique. You don't have to have your first chapter right away to send to me. You can take some time. I will still be offering that service in the future. Same with the Skype consultations. If you have a really busy couple of months coming up, then we can always move it to 2018, where you can book that free Skype consultation with me. So I will announce those 5 winners 1 week from today in next week's video. So you have 1 week to enter, and there will be options where you can kind of get more entries, if you will, and better your chances of winning one of these prizes. So normally sharing on Twitter and Facebook and your other social media accounts will get you another entry into the giveaway. I plan on doing more giveaways in the future, so make sure you leave some comments down below. Let me know what types of prizes you guys would like to see. And again, I just want to thank you so much for supporting me and for coming along with me on this crazy life writing journey. I am so grateful and so blessed to be sharing it with all of you. Just know that I love you guys so much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching, and now let's get into this week's video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Monday. So about three and a half weeks ago, I posted something on Twitter asking you guys to send me your questions, because I wanted to do another Q&A, both kind of writing and personal life Q&A. So I got quite a few questions and I wanted to go ahead and answer those in today's video. I plan on doing Q&A videos at least once a quarter, or maybe on a bi-monthly basis. I'm not really sure yet, but I really love answering your guys' questions, and I feel like it's just such a great way to engage with all of you, and it's just much more interactive. So if you're not already, make sure you're following me on Twitter as well as Instagram and Snapchat. I tend to post quite a few different things on my different social media sites, but I always ask for questions on Twitter. And I just ask that you tag your questions with hashtag AskMeKM. That way when I do the search, I can pull up the questions really easily. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. The first question is from Ava Nieves, and she asks, if a book agency calls you to publish your next book, would you accept? So we're just getting started right out of the gate. Okay, so if I had a literary agent or a publishing house call me wanting to publish my next book, I wouldn't say I would necessarily jump right on the opportunity without thinking about it. I'm one of those people that wants to make sure that things are lined up properly, that I'm vibing with the person that I'm working with. So ultimately, I just want to make sure it would be the right fit. And if it's not the right fit, then I would say no and wait to see if something else came along. But if it seemed like it would fit and the relationship would be mutually beneficial, then it's definitely something I would consider. Okay, it looks like Ava sent me 3 questions. So her next question is, any advice for a bilingual writer? My main language is Spanish, but I feel I have more opportunities writing in English. This is kind of a hard question for me to answer because I'm not bilingual. I know a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of French, but obviously my main language is English, and so that is what I write in. Honestly, the language that you write your story in is really going to depend on the story itself and what you feel most comfortable writing in. I wouldn't necessarily say there's more opportunities writing in English than in Spanish or any other language. The internet has done some pretty amazing things. There is so much global reach nowadays, and I know the need for books written in Spanish is actually really high. So I would honestly say if you want to write a book in Spanish, write a book in Spanish. In my opinion, there's not necessarily more opportunities in one language over the other. And actually that was the end of Ava's question. She then went on to say, I do like to write in English, but I struggle writing it more because I don't know all the words in English. So hopefully I helped to answer your question. The next question is from Tori Madison. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. She asks, when you write your books, do you write them on the book format template or do you write it on a normal template and convert it later? So with my first book, The Alpha Drive, I was a newbie, and so I just wrote it in a regular Word document and then I formatted it later on. And I have to tell you, this was such an extreme pain. But I actually tend to be more motivated to write, and I like seeing my words and my story in the pre-formatted book template. So now with 4 books under my belt, I do write in a pre-formatted book template. This is why I don't use programs like Scrivener and all that. Since I am a self-published author, it's nice to have it in the pre-formatted template. It saves time, and it's also just prettier to look at. And again, it just inspires me to write more. And that way, when I'm done with my months and months and months of editing and revising, it's in its pre-formatted template and I can upload it to the print-on-demand platforms like CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. The next question is from Emily Shank. She asks, how do you handle people that are negative or dismissive about your writing? Oh, Emily, this is such a good question. And this might make me sound like, I don't know, maybe a bad person, but I just don't care. I really do not care. If people want to be negative or dismissive or think that writing is silly or that my books are bad or whatever, then that's totally fine. That's their opinion and they have the right to their opinion. And honestly, what they think of me, of my writing, of my books has absolutely nothing, it has nothing to do with me. So I just really don't concern myself with the negativity. I know I've said this in multiple videos, but I don't read my reviews because when I write the books, I write them for me. And the people that are meant to pick them up and read them and enjoy them will find their way to my books eventually. And those are the people I've noticed that tend to stick with me and who are a part of this amazing community that we have all built together. So I know it can be really hard when people are negative or dismissive about your writing. When I first started writing, it was something that I struggled with. And I think just as time has progressed, the less and less I care what people think about me. And I think a lot of that stems from being truly happy with who you are as a person and having that inner confidence and also being confident in your writing. And that can be really hard to do, especially as a self-published author, because you don't have a traditional publisher backing you. But I'll tell you something, even books that are traditionally published get bad reviews and books that are self-published get bad reviews. So you're never going to please everybody. So just make sure you make yourself happy. And that's all that matters. Okay, the next 2 questions are from Bree Leclerc. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sorry if I'm not. Her first question is, where do you publish? Amazon and Ingram? Do you use anything like Draft to Digital? And then her second question is, how do you stay motivated to finish a draft? For your first question, yes, I publish on Amazon CreateSpace and also Lightning Sources Ingram Spark. I do not use anything like Draft to Digital. To be honest, I actually don't know what that is. As far as how I stay motivated to finish a draft, I get asked this question a lot. And I think what it comes down to more so is having the discipline to create a schedule and actually stick to it. Are there days where I'm really tired, exhausted, or I'm just not feeling inspired? Yes, absolutely. I'm human. Not every day is going to be a writing day, and not every day is going to be a good writing day. But what it really comes down to is the fact that I absolutely love to write. I love to create things. I love to write stories. I love to develop my characters, and I like to see where all of it goes. And I feel like when you really have a true passion for something, and you truly love it, you don't always need to find motivation or look for motivation because it's more of an inner drive. It's something that you love to do, and that makes it easier to sit down and write because you want to do it. It's not something you feel like you have to do. If I am having one of those days where I'm feeling like I am in a slump, I tend to look at my vision board, or I will create a new vision board, and sometimes just looking over that and seeing more of the big picture and not just focusing on, okay, I need to write this scene or I need to write this chapter or X amount of words tonight. When I'm looking at my actual vision board and I see kind of the overall picture of what I want for my life, that's motivation enough to keep writing. And you can make a physical vision board. You can also do it on Pinterest and do it digitally. And then another thing that really does help me get motivated is to put on my writing playlist. I have a playlist. Every time I hear these songs, it just makes me want to sit down and write. And I think it's because I've listened to them so often, I've kind of become conditioned where I hear the song and I'm like, okay, it's writing time. So I'll make sure to leave the link to my Spotify playlist in the description box below. And that way you can check it out and see if that music also kind of fits your vibe and gets you motivated to write. The next question is from OMG Yoonmin. I think I said that right. That's the username. And they ask, as a self-publisher, what would be some tips about writing fantasy novels? My number one tip when it comes to writing fantasy novels is to build your world and your characters ahead of time. Do that first. It will be so much easier to write your story when you know where your story is taking place, what the world looks like, if there's a magic system, how society is governed. And then of course having your characters helps too, because you actually know who you're writing about and what point of view and what tense you're going to write in. I do have 2 videos on world building and creating character profiles, so I'll make sure to leave them linked in the description box below. Make sure you check those out because I feel like the world building one especially is a little bit more geared toward fantasy novels and science fiction novels. So I think you will find that really helpful. The next question is from J.E. Barclay. Will you ever quit your current job and become a full-time author? The answer here is yes, at some point I will. When it's going to happen, I'm not really sure, but of course, that is the dream. So it's something that I'm working toward and I'm definitely making progress toward that goal. The next question is from Christopher McOwen and he asks, how do you build an author platform before publishing anything? What can you offer people for their followership/email address? So I do have a video on building your author platform. I'm going to leave that link down below because it does have a lot of tips and advice for how you can start to build your author platform even when you don't have a book published yet. But a great way to build followership or to gain email addresses and build your mailing list is to actually offer some sort of freebie on your website. This could be a guide or a workbook to something writing related, or maybe something about marketing your book or even building your online platform. But if you can create a document that will garner interest, then I guarantee you people will sign up for your mailing list or your newsletter. And then that way, a lot of websites have it where when people subscribe to your site, you can actually send an automatic email with that download link. I actually did this recently for That Smart Hustle. I created a document called 5 action steps you can take to start showing up for your dreams. And the way for people to get it is to insert their email address and subscribe to my site. And then that email address is used to email them the link to download that guide or that workbook. And if you're interested in picking that up, it's at thatsmarthustle.com. Just a little self-promo, gonna throw that in there. But yes, Christopher, I would recommend watching my Building Your Author Platform video, as I think it will have a lot of helpful tips, and it's just a longer, more in-depth video. It'll have more information in that video than I can go over in the time frame of this video. All right, the next question is from Sophia 8 Visa. Again, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. And she asks, a lot say that the first draft is bad. Why? How is it different compared to the last draft, and in what way? I'm guessing in what way. I've said this before in some of my past videos, but think about the first draft as you telling yourself the story for the first time. When you tell yourself the story for the first time, there are going to be plot holes, there are going to be grammatical errors, there are going to be pacing issues, there are going to be things that don't connect or questions that you need to answer that maybe you didn't answer in your draft. Writing a book is not easy, and so it's safe to say that your first draft is going to have a lot of errors. But I feel like where the book really becomes a book and it becomes a cohesive story is during the editing and revising phase. So I tend to write my first drafts in 2 to 3 months, but then I spend about a year, it's like 8 months to a year editing and revising, and I'm taking stuff out and adding stuff in, removing chunks, removing dialogue, adding whole chapters, cutting whole chapters. You're doing a lot during the editing and revising phase. And so I feel like because you've read through it probably like 8 or 9 times by that point, the final draft or the last draft of your story tends to be a lot better because it's just more cohesive, it flows, you found those plot holes, those errors, you fixed all of the issues with pacing or any other problems that you saw in that first draft. I always keep the first draft of all of my manuscripts, and then of course I have the final draft of all of them saved on my thumb drive, and it is fun sometimes to go back and see how my writing style has developed from the first draft over those 8 to 12 months where I've been working on editing and revising it. It is a really cool feeling. It's something I would highly recommend everyone do, is to keep that first draft tucked away somewhere. And then eventually at some point you can compare it to your final draft, but it's really neat to see how much you've grown as a writer. The next question is from Chelly LS. She says, hey, love you. Oh, thanks, love you too. How do you balance writing different books or series? Did you write Restitution and Shadow Crown at the same time? Real quick, I do want to mention that I have a video on balancing multiple writing projects, so I will leave that link down below in case you want to watch that. But for the sake of time, I really try to just focus on one series at a time if I can. Or I'll do something that's in the fiction realm, but then I can also focus on something in the nonfiction realm since they're not similar. I will say that between writing Restitution and then gearing up to write Shadow Crown was probably the weirdest phase of my writer life, because I was focused on wrapping up one trilogy and starting another, and they were two completely separate genres. We had science fiction dystopian and then dark fantasy. I had to do some serious mental separation between the two storylines so as to not carry over the voice in one book over to the other book, because I wanted them to have different vibes, different feels. And then as far as writing Restitution and Shadow Crown at the same time, oh lordy, absolutely not. I wrote Restitution in July and November during NaNoWriMo in 2015, and then I wrote Shadow Crown in July and November of 2016. So as far as writing two books at the same time, like I just said, it would have to be something where it was a fiction book and then a nonfiction book. I don't think I could write two fiction works at the same time. If I really wanted to, I think I could figure out how to write two fiction books at the same time, but honestly, I just don't think this would be very fun for me, and that's not really how my writing process works, so I prefer to write them at separate times. The next question is from Nikki J, and she asks, do you have a dream cast for film adaptations of your books? I actually don't. It's not something I've fully really thought about or considered, but now that you've asked, I am somewhat interested. And I do know there are sites like thebookcaster.com, and there's another one, I can't remember what it's called. I think you can actually add your book or your story, and then you can choose characters, and I can't remember the name of this other site. But for the alpha drive, I did have some people in mind, although to be honest, it's been a while since I've really thought about it, so it may be something I end up doing. So stay tuned for that, because off the top of my head and for the sake of time, I can't really think of my dream cast for my books, but let me get back to you on that. The next question is also from Nikki J, and she asks, are you going to do Vlogmas again this year? So for those that don't know, Vlogmas is something that a lot of YouTubers do, where they will post videos every single day for the 25 days leading up to Christmas. So basically a video every day from December 1st to December 25th. I did this last year and it was really fun, but it was also really stressful. I have kind of a lot of moving pieces and parts happening in my life right now, which I will, update you guys on a little bit later. So as of right now, I would like to do Vlogmas, but I'm really not sure that I'm going to have the time to be able to do it this year. So again, stay tuned. Not 100% sure. I'd really like to do it. I'm just not sure yet. The next question is from Brittany. She asks, do you ever struggle with balance? How do you maintain your positivity? So to answer the first question, yes, I do struggle with balance. I think everyone out there does struggle with balance, and a lot of people will say, oh, true work-life balance doesn't actually exist. I disagree with this, because I feel like there are some days where I feel like I've kind of done it all, or I've balanced everything really, really well. And so I just try to remind myself of the things that I need to do to make myself feel balanced. And normally this is waking up at a decent time, so around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, getting a healthy breakfast in, which is normally oatmeal with brown sugar and blueberries, or a fruit smoothie with a bunch of added greens. I also like to make sure I get my workout in, and I always try to do something outside in nature, because that tends to just make me feel happier and more balanced. So I'll try to get a run outside in the morning if it's not too hot. And then later on in the evening, I will go upstairs and get a weightlifting session in, or I will go to my neighborhood gym and do that. Work obviously takes up a lot of time, so there's not much I can really do about that. But as long as I can fit something that has to do with writing or YouTube into my day for at least 1 hour, then I tend to feel really balanced. So I think the best piece of advice I can give here is to write down your ideal day, all of the things that you would like to do in a day that make you feel productive and would make you feel balanced. And then every single day, try to strive to do as many of those things as possible. And maybe don't do this every single day, because there are gonna be days where you need a break. You don't wanna burn yourself out. But I've just found if you have a list of things that you know make you feel balanced, if you can incorporate those into your daily routine, then it'll just help in making your life feel balanced and like you're not doing too much of one thing and not enough of another. As far as maintaining my positivity, this is a really good question. And this is gonna sound silly, but I think I'm just naturally a very positive person. I always look for the silver lining, and I'm just a happy person. And I do think exercising a lot and eating healthy, and then also when you find your passion and you find what you really love to do, and then also being surrounded by this awesome community on YouTube, I just find that I don't have a reason to be unhappy or to be negative. I guess, of course, there are some days where I have mood swings, or I'm just not feeling it, or I'm uninspired, or I'm just in a bad mood. Those days happen, but they are few and far between. And really what it comes down to is the fact that life is too short to be anything but positive and happy. I've also found that meditating and writing 3 things you're grateful for every single morning really helps kind of shift your mindset and your perspective into a more positive one. And so I do that every single morning. It is so important to remember all of the things that you do have and all of the things that you have to be grateful for in your life. And I feel like when you focus on those things, then there's less time to focus on the things that you don't have. The next question is from B.R. Miller. What is a popular book or series that you sadly haven't read? Off the top of my head, I would have to say the City of Bones or the Mortal Instrument series. I started reading it. I feel like everyone has read that series except for me. And then also the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. I think I can't remember if I read all the way through Cinder or I got really close to finishing it, but I just haven't picked up any of those other books. And I feel like everyone talks about the Lunar Chronicles and how incredible it is. And I haven't read it, but maybe one day soon I will pick it up. Okay, and the last and final question is from Ashley Santos. And she asked, what was the initial idea for Shadow Crown? How did you turn it into an entire book, and has it changed a lot since the initial idea? Surprisingly, the initial idea for Shadow Crown is exactly what the book is now. I really did not change that much from the first draft to the final draft. When I read through it, of course, there were some scenes that I cut and things that I added in, you know, just normal editing and revisions, but there weren't whole chunks or whole subplots that I added into it. I actually brainstormed the idea for Shadow Crown when I was at the Houston Rodeo. Weirdest place to brainstorm a dark fantasy book. It has, you know, the rodeo has nothing to do with Shadow Crown, but I think I was just in such a different setting that, I don't know, my creative vibes were just kind of buzzing and going all over the place. So I brainstormed that book in March of 2015 and then really worked on the outline pretty much April, May, and June, and really fleshed out the ideas and kept adding more and more to it as I saw fit. So yeah, the outlining and brainstorming process for that book was probably a 3 to 4 month process, which is a lot longer than my other books in the Alpha Drive series. But I think that's because I knew I wanted Shadow Crown to be a much longer series, around 6 or 7 books, and so I was brainstorming the ideas for all of those books and how, you know, I could foreshadow certain things and how all of these subplots would intertwine to make it just one big series. So yeah, it really hasn't changed a lot since the initial idea. So that is it. Those are all of the questions that I received on Twitter. So if I didn't answer your question, then just know I will be saving it for my next Q&A video. And that's just for the sake of time. Otherwise, this video would be so long. But if you like the content today, please give this video a thumbs up to support my channel and make sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out on any of my future videos. All of my Amazon best-selling books, The Alpha Drive, The Order of Omega, and Restitution, as well as my newest book, Shadow Crown, are available for purchase on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as the Book Depository and Books A Million. You can also order signed copies of all of my books for just a few dollars more than if you were to buy them on Amazon. For more information on how to get your hands on autographed copies, please go to my website at KristenMartinBooks.com and click on the Buy Books tab on the menu bar. If you are a fan of audiobooks, make sure to check out my affiliate link with Audible in the description box below. You can get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial for their service. Who doesn't love free stuff? So make sure you check them out. I also do offer some writerly services such as first chapter critiques, as well as 30-minute and 60-minute Skype consultations. And if you are a teacher, educator, or librarian and you're looking for an author to come speak at your school or host a workshop, I am offering school visits For more information on how you can book me, go to my website at kristenmartinbooks.com and click on the Services Offered tab as well as the School Visits tab. I am officially attending BookCon again next year on June 2nd and June 3rd in New York City. I will have a booth where I will be selling and signing copies of my books. It's booth number 1242, so I hope to meet all of you next year. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, make sure you do that for daily writing inspiration and advice, as well as to see sneak peeks of what I've got going on during my days. Social media is also where I announce giveaways, price promotions, and other fun stuff, so make sure you're following me. If you have any questions or think of a topic for one of my next videos, please leave it in the comments down below. Again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I would love for you to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Don't forget, I post new writing advice videos on Mondays and personal day in the life vlogs on Thursdays. I will see you guys next time. Bye!